This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, sorry we're a little bit late getting started. Brent is having some audio issues with trying to get his audio to work here. So I've got him with me here now by phone, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear him. And then his partner, Steve Hooker. Steve, is your mic working okay?
Yes, can you hear me, Leon?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. So we'll proceed like
Good,
this.
perfect.
And if we have any trouble hearing Brent, then we'll figure it out at that point. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an overview about Texas contracts for new construction and how the warranty process works. And that'll help me segue into why a company like Centricity is so paramount to dealing in new construction property. So the majority of the contracts that agents like myself use are written by the Texas Association of Realtors. And the reason that I mention that is they try to make them very fair for all parties. So there's a group of people that get together and write these forms, and they try to make it not weighted so much in anyone's favor, but to try to look at everything that could potentially go wrong and everything that they've seen in front of them with complaints and write a contract that encompasses that. The problem with your standard, quote, new construction contract in Texas that everybody has access to is there's no warranty requirement. It basically says in that agreement, unless otherwise provided, there is no warranty on the property. Now, that's an interesting thing that I'll get more into in another class, but of course there's state law that talks about good workmanship and a whole lot of other things that go into play. So there's really no such thing as no warranty. But when we talk about a written warranty policy, there's not some standard in place that is required to be provided by builders in the state of Texas. And this is a paramount thing that goes hand in hand with the conservative state. Those of you that hear me talk in these classes, I talk a lot about how Texas doesn't overregulate and doesn't create more laws that we need and all these different things. And so we don't see so much regulation. For example, general contractors in Texas are not licensed. Very different from states that have more liberal policies as it comes into play with real estate and business operation, et cetera. And so this is one of the translations that we see when we work with new construction properties. And most of the big box builders that you go to, your D.R. Hortons, your Lennars, all those guys, they have their own warranty packets that they use. And so they'll write their own contracts, they have their own forms, and then they have their own warranty type procedure that they follow. Now, the problem comes into play when you deal with small builders, when you deal with investors who are builders, when you deal with real estate agents who are builders, when you deal with people who aren't large enough to have a warranty department. You know, the people that we're working with and the people that we have access to, the D.R. Hortons don't want to sell to investors. It hurts their neighborhoods. They get less money. It's not inducing for them. And so what we try to do is mitigate the loss in everything that we do, from our walkthroughs on properties to our 2-month renting periods to selling new construction in general. It's all about mitigating loss and controlling your cost. And so when you buy a new construction property, unless you do something to make sure there's a warranty in place, you're really only dealing with Texas state law that deals with workmanship. And that's never a position any of us want to be in. So one of the things that we have in place is we require our builders to offer a warranty when we sell a property. Now, the terms of that warranty may vary builder to builder. Some builders self-warranty and they make their own repairs. Some builders may only do a 1-year everything in a 10-year structure. And then some builders do, and most of our builders do, what I recommend, which is a 1-2-10 period. And what a 1-2-10 period means is 1 year, pretty much everything, bumper to bumper. 2-year systems, which generally is going to be plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and then 10 years on the structure. And when we say structure, we're really talking about the foundation and the framing, but really the foundation. So what we're looking for is if that framing and that structure that is built has a major defect, we want some type of protection in place. And so it's all about, again, mitigating cost, mitigating the loss. Centricity is a fantastic partner. Now, Centricity is kind of encompassing a few different companies we've worked with over the years. So for those of you that bought a few years ago, you may have been told bonded builders. And I'm going to let Brent and Steve talk a little bit more about that and the merger and all of that. But Centricity is the new bonded builders. And so I'm going to first like to introduce both of you. Steve, thank you for joining us. Brent, thank you for joining us. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of Centricity, and especially as it pertains to the start with us in terms of dealing with bonded builders?
Hi, my name is Brent Morgan. Nice to meet you. Sorry we were late. We were trying to get on. We had a little audio difficulty. Steve, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just saying good afternoon, everyone. I'm dialing in from Oklahoma City in a hotel. So good to be here today with everyone.
Thank you guys for joining us. So tell me a little bit about kind of what the start of Centricity is and what it's developed into in addition with the, group under bonded.
Sure. So again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Hooker, Senior Vice President of Centricity, and happy to be here on the webinar today. Before, on the slide that everyone is looking at right now, I'm just going to back up for a second and briefly talk about the parent company and how Centricity came to be. So the parent company of Centricity is Bankers Financial Corporation, and Bankers Financial Corporation has been in business for over 40 years. And they are a group of companies that are either insurance related or warranty related, with the idea of creating a dynamic franchise. We can all work together, sort of the hub and spokes, to create what we believe to be and what we believe to have now is the most comprehensive risk management solution with warranties and insurance products that's in the industry. So the companies under the Bankers Financial Corporation umbrella: Bankers Insurance Group, which is an insurance company. We have Decision HR, which is a third-party human resources company, and several other companies in the insurance space. And then there's Bankers Warranty Group, which provides service contracts on appliance products and consumer electronics products. Very similar to when you go to Best Buy, you buy a flat screen TV, you take it to the counter, and they offer the extended warranty. That's really our product, but it's white labeled at the counter and sold to homeowners or consumers in a retail space. And then there was Bonded Builders Warranty Group, which provided structural home warranties and other products and services to the building arena. And those two companies combined in 2017 because smart home and connected home and the insurance products we had to offer, we just combined both. It gave us more levers to pull to provide more real value and differentiation to the smaller builders, which are our customers, and to be able to provide the smart home and connected home connection to builders through the product, the installation, the troubleshooting, and the warranty on it as well. So then we formed Centricity in 2017, and we stand as a company right now to grow by 91% by the end of 2019. So that's kind of the formation of Centricity.
Perfect. I appreciate you going over that. So you've got a lot of different things that you work with and the different companies that you kind of encompass all together. But in general, the purpose of this webinar is going to be to discuss how you assist customers who are purchasing new construction from investors. And really it's about the service, number one, because the warranty document is a warranty document, and in general, most of them are pretty similar. I think that it's the implementation of the warranty, the oversight of the warranty, and the people that you have in place that really set you all apart. And there are a lot of warranty companies. There's a lot of different ones out there. I have not seen one as comprehensive as yours, but it's the team that you have in place and the people that we work with and the speed at which you get things done. And, luckily, knock on wood, I think we've only ever made one claim, but it's one of those things that knowing it's there if we need it, it's extremely important. And knowing that you've got the people to back it and take care of it is even more important beyond that. So the number one question I get about Texas is foundation problems. And this is really, at the end of the day, generally when you have an issue during year one or year two, during your bumper to bumper or during your systems warranty, generally the builder takes care of it. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into how things work. But where we really start to see you guys get involved is if there's a structural failure. So can you talk to me a little bit about what that is and how that works?
Yes, and it goes back to one of the things you said earlier, Leah. You're exactly right. It's mitigating loss. It's helping control your costs. And then the additional step that we do is we're just trying to simplify the process and really remove the builder from these issues and create a legal and binding document between the builder and the homeowner so that the homeowner has to go through our process of conciliation and dispute resolution so the builder can do what they do best and just keep building homes. So what is a structural failure? So the National Association of Home Builders and HUD create all the definitions. As Leah mentioned, a warranty is a warranty. We can't really customize it. Those rules and guidelines, terms and conditions are set by the NAHB and by HUD. So these 4 checkpoints that you see on your screen identify what contractually in the warranty document, what a structural failure really is. So there has to be actual physical damage to the home that is caused by the failure of load-bearing portions, which again, Lee is correct. It really is about soil movement in Texas. If we get the foundation right and we get the soil right, we eliminate what is in Texas, 83% of all structural failures is due to soil movement. So sometimes it's clear when we have a structural failure. We don't really need to go out and spend a lot of time inspecting this one. And in some cases, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just laughing. So just for the
Yeah.
record, I've never seen one that bad in my whole career. I love that picture you guys threw in there.
And when we put these presentations together, we like to use slides and photos from the local market. So these photos are from Texas.
Oh, I have no doubt.
So yeah, so the one we're looking at now is sometimes it's not so clear, and that's when the definitions of the warranty document come into play. So we have a black and white answer to every single issue that could happen to the home.
Yeah. And so to kind of talk about from the property management side, because a lot of people that aren't from Texas don't really understand how foundation movement works. And it's actually interesting enough, it was foundation movement and watering issues that in the very beginning led us to start doing our visits during the year, because it's so integral to being able to. And so it's very, very interesting to watch how something simple like a plumbing leak can destroy, the integrity of the foundation very quickly. Actually, I had one that I was dealing with earlier today where we went to a property and saw significant signs of movement. And first thing is we need to assess plumbing leak, because it's pretty obvious. Sometimes you'll see soil washout, you'll see those things. And generally this is an older home problem, but it's interesting how many people aren't used to dealing with it, and they don't understand the correlation between drainage, water movement, and the slab. Because in reality, that soil is what's holding that slab in place. And so when the soil moves or the soil gets wet or the drainage isn't right, it doesn't take a lot. And so it's one of those things that you've got to be proactive about. And it's not always clear. It's not always clear, what the cause is.
Yeah, and Leah, that's exactly right. And sometimes a builder can do everything exactly right, and either through extreme drought conditions, or we've got expansion and contraction of the soils, and it just happens. So, but there are things that builders can do to mitigate that risk and to mitigate that loss, and we'll talk about some of those things today. One thing that we came up with to help identify what a structural failure is the acronym we saw on the previous screen, which is BRIEF. If we go through the acronym as we're walking through a home to look at all the different issues that have been caused, that were the cause of the homeowner filing a claim with us, the checkpoints are right here. We look for breaks, gaps in exterior windows because the foundation is shifted. We've got exterior doors that have racked and they won't close properly, interior cracks, exterior cracks, and of course, floor cracks or distortions. And then if it's a failure, the average cost of repair for us when we fix these homes is $65,000. So let's look at it.
You want to have to experience. I can tell you that my career, and you deal with a wider range of properties. The largest foundation repair that I've ever seen was a property in Mesquite that was about 60 years old. And we were hired to take over from another manager, and they had bought it from someone who had, quote, redone the house. And I think it was $19,000. And that one, the slab was pretty crumbled. And you know, it's interesting because you can see the larger the house, the larger the expense, but it's the more expensive it gets, it's almost the worse the build was. And so I'll never forget my first year in the business. One of the first properties I ever handled was in Carrollton, and the property had terrible foundation problems. The guy couldn't sell it because of it, so he hired us to manage it. And this is almost 14 years ago. And we got a foundation company in to assess it, and they had forgot to rebar. They had just literally poured a slab. And so it's scary, you know, when you think about what can go wrong in a home and what can come up. And, you know, you hear these horror stories, and I personally, we haven't had that, but we work with good people. We inspect properties, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, a lot of people don't do that. I have a lot of people who come work for me, and even clients that I work with, some sitting on this right now, who were floored when I recommended a home inspection on a new construction home. And it's like I always tell people, when it's new, no one's lived there to see what's wrong. No one's lived there to find out what's not right. And so in reality, in some ways, checking on these new construction properties is even more important than in a pre-owned, because there's been no one there to look at anything.
That's a very good point, Leah, and you're right. An inspection on a new home is always a good idea. We have about 325,000 homes in our program inside that 10 years at any given time, 5,000 plus builders in our program nationwide. We get a lot of phone calls and a lot of crazy ones too. But just recently, a builder who was building fast, the homeowner didn't want to get an inspection. They were sort of talked into it by their realtor. They got the inspection. The house completely got skipped for insulation, and the inspector found it. So you're right. A homeowner's not expected to be an expert in all things about their home, and that upfront inspection can be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's one of those things that these inspectors are looking at. The inspectors that we work with, most of them actually measure the foundation when they go, which I think is a step above and beyond. And a lot of them don't do that. But I have had properties before where we'll send an inspector in, and they will note an uneven variance in the build. And, you know, in that case, there's really nothing that can be done. It's already built. It is what it is. And that's a point where we would terminate. If the slab isn't right, the slab isn't right. But if that gets missed, then I would imagine that becomes a major claim for you guys down the line.
True. The one thing that can help with that, obviously, is making sure the houses are built to plan. Just like anything, if things are not built to spec or built to plan, some of the things can then be void in the warranty, right? Because it's not built the way it was supposed to be built. But absolutely, the vast majority of homes are built correctly, and then we just have an issue with the soil, and it happens. And then you want to be there to protect yourself, because we all know being in the building profession is a rewarding and lucrative career to have, but you have to protect your assets and mitigate your losses.
So let's talk about the back end of your policies, because I think this is one of the things that really sets you all apart. John Doe off the street builds a property, comes to you and says, hey, I want you to offer a 1-2-10 warranty on my house. Do you issue that policy, or is there due diligence that goes into play with Centricity with the builders that you represent?
There's due diligence or underwriting up front. We do have a fairly stringent underwriting process just to ensure the builder is a builder, just to make sure they've got the financial wherewithal to uphold their 1-year obligation, and that they're going to be around. We really look at it more as a partnership, because we can work together to solve problems, to eliminate litigation, and provide good customer service to homeowners when they file a claim. We're the experts on that, and we know how to guide the homeowner through that process. We do that for the builders. But on the upfront, you know, we like to see some experience in building, and we like to see that if the builder has insurance, you don't have to have it like you mentioned, Leah, but if they do, it eliminates that one red flag or closes a door of concern, because it shows us the builder really is in this thing for the long haul. They're not just going to build a house and leave the program. So we do some underwriting up front, and we do some due diligence to make sure we have quality builders in our program.
So let's say that we have one of these quality builders, we close on the property, 2 years down the line, there appears to be some type of structural failure. And as I mentioned, in all the years working with Bonded Builder and now Centricity, we filed one claim. So we've got this one claim. what is the process? So we've got cracking tiles, we've got some cracks in the walls, we've got some windows that are separating. Walk me through what a client should expect, both timing and what the process is and what the cost to them is going to be with filing a claim with you, say 2 years into this property for the structure.
So if we have a homeowner who's got what they believe to be a structural failure in year 2, or really from year 1 through the statute of repose in Texas, which is 10 years, anytime within that time frame that the homeowner feels that they've got a structural failure, they reach out to us. Sometimes they'll reach out to the builder because they don't remember they have the warranty, but the builder can then just refer the homeowner to us to remind them that they have this third-party warranty in place to take care of this on their behalf. So we are contacted by the homeowner either via email or by phone. And if it's by phone, we'll talk through the product, tell us exactly what's happening, send us some pictures so we can take a look and see, because we've got people in our dispute resolution or in our builder services department that have been there for many, many years. They know our warranty document like the back of their hand. So they can quickly, by looking at some photos and asking for certain photos, determine if this is something that does look like a structural issue. And if it is, we, by contract and it's something that we don't have to have in our warranty document, but we do. So if we have something that it looks like it's a structural failure and we've got a claim submitted to us, we are physically going to send an inspectors that we know in Texas, have relationships with in Texas, and have worked with for many years. They're going to go out and physically inspect the home. And some of the pictures you're seeing in this presentation come from the inspectors that have gone out and looked at these houses. And they know the warranty document well. So they're going to look at the issues from the warranty document perspective and determine if the measurements and the issues are in fact a structural failure. If they are, we quickly move to letting the homeowner know it is a failure, letting the builder know it is a failure. We let them know in a written document as well. And then we immediately move into getting a plan of repair. So we contract with foundation repair companies in Texas. We will reach out to them and they'll go out and inspect the home and create a plan of repair, what it's going to take to fix the house and what that cost is going to be. The cost involved, and we've got a slide later on it, but it includes a lot of things. But from the point that the homeowner files the claims, the builder is going to pay a one-time fee for this warranty for 10 years. Everything that happens after that, either Centricity pays for it, or it's already agreed upon with the inspector, meaning the builder never pays again, and the homeowner never pays a claim fee. So they file the claim, we send an inspector out, that's on Centricity's dime. They do the inspection, it goes to a foundation repair company, they put together a plan of repair, we pay for that as well. Then the foundation company goes out and then they physically, some of you have probably seen it, maybe all of you have, but they physically tunnel with shovels underneath the home. And they've got a plan where they're going to drive piles of piers down into the ground, hit something solid where the house pops up, they're going to get it level, and they're going to backfill everything. But in that process, we've got broken plumbing pipes, we've got broken electricity, the cabinets have come loose inside the process. And we go back in, we fix all the cosmetics and the finishes inside the home that were damaged due to the repair. We fix that, landscaping, get everything back to the way it was supposed to be. We report everything back to the builder to keep them in the loop as to what's going on. And then when it's done, the homeowner is satisfied. Now that foundation has a lifetime warranty that's provided by the structural repair company, the foundation repair company, and then we've completed our work. Sometimes it does get into a situation where we deny the claim. So if we deny the claim and the homeowner disagrees with the denial, they now have to work through our dispute resolution process. So the first step there is they file an official denial that they disagree with it. And then what we do is we will physically go back out to the house again for free. And we'll sit down with the homeowner and we'll show them the warranty document, and we'll go over to the physical spot where the claim the structural claim issue is, and we'll show them in the warranty document that it doesn't fit the terms and conditions and definitions of the warranty. About 50% of the time, it all stops right there and we're good. If the homeowner disagrees, we will then allow them to find an expert of their choice, and we'll bring an expert of our choice. Again, if they want to pay for their expert, they can, or it could be someone that they know in the industry. But again, no expense to the builder. We'll go back out again and do conciliation and do a claim review. And the two experts will look at it together, and then they will deem that it is in fact a denied claim because it doesn't fit the terms and conditions. At that point, we have a 98.8% success rate of it never going any further, which the next step would then be arbitration, which is what nobody wants. The builder and the homeowner have to agree upon a third-party arbitrator. They have to split the cost of that arbitrator. The arbitrator doesn't necessarily have to have construction-related experience, but their decision is legal and final. So we put those steps in place so it never gets to arbitration.
So tell me, what would you say is the most common reason a claim is denied?
The claim will, 83% of the time, that claim is going to be foundation related. And the most common reason that it is denied is that the crack in the foundation just hasn't met or exceeded the definition of a crack that we know over time truly is a foundation failure. So it goes back to those definitions. It hasn't created an issue where the house is now unsafe, unsanitary, or otherwise unlivable, meaning the door's still shut, the window's still open, it's still livable. Now, there are times where we will look at it and we will predict that within a certain amount of time, it's inevitable that it's going to fail, and we'll just go ahead and fix it at that point. But if it looks like we can do something, we can do an injection, we can do something to help it, or it looks like it's just going to stay that way, and it's really not an issue, then we'll just monitor it, and the homeowner knows that if it does get worse, then they can call us and we can send someone back out and see what the difference is and determine at that point if it truly is a structural failure.
Yeah, so this is when we get into that kind of normal settlement. And this is something that we note a lot when we visit properties and when we're inspecting properties and all these different things, is that this is Texas, and some cities are more prone to foundation problems than others. Cities like Rowlett, cities like Mesquite, cities like the Colony, they're built mostly on what we call black gumbo, which is mud. And those are predominantly older homes, but it's like building on mud. There's going to be some movement, especially when we have torrential rain, when we have major storms. And you know, when I say major rain, we're not talking Houston rain here, right? We don't have all that flooding and craziness, but you know, we get rain and we get storms, and there is some movement and some settlement that's considered normal. And so when you have a home inspector go out and look at the property, or you have an engineer or whomever, they're looking at what they call a variance. And so they're going to get a baseline reading in the property, and then over a distance, they're going to take another reading and continue and continue. And they're looking at how much does it fluctuate. So generally we hear between a half inch and an inch over 20 feet. And so it's about, is it within the normal limits? And, you know, some properties, I do a lot of pre-owned homes personally. I buy and renovate a lot of pre-owned homes. And sometimes they'll say it's by build. They'll say, well, in 1965, when this home was built, this is how it was poured. There's no repair needed. This is by build. And so there's a lot of different pieces that go into play. It's kind of like a medical diagnosis in some ways, is that it's looking at all the different pieces of the puzzle and then making a determination based on those things. But the bottom line is, if there is a failure in this and it meets that criteria and you've got this warranty in place, this is what Centricity is there for. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about your other coverages. So Centricity, as I mentioned, is a 1, 2, 10 policy. So walk me through what happens. We have a AC goes out 6 months after build, and the builder does not fix it because, of course, first line defers to the builder. But let's say the builder is out of business, the builder has gotten sick and passed away, something has happened, and the builder is not stepping up 6 months into the property. What happens there with Centricity?
So what happens in that situation, the language in the warranty document states that if a builder at any point in time in their 1-year workmanship or in their 2-year system segment of the warranty, if they become unable or unwilling to fulfill their obligation in those 2 years, then the warranty company will step in on behalf of the builder to take care of the issue at hand. And that's what we do.
So it really doesn't matter where the builder is, doesn't matter the status of their company. None of that matters once the policy is bound and in place at closing.
That's correct. Once the warranty is enforced, the terms and conditions, the definitions have to be enforced. That is correct.
And that really is the backbone of why we love you guys, because, you know, when you deal with, I would say when you deal with the David Weekleys and the D.R. Hortons, that they're too big to go out of business, although we've all seen in the past that that actually does happen. But in general, it's your smaller builders, your mom and pops, the family owned operations. They are the ones that I would say are probably more likely to close shop for whatever reason it may be. And so having a third party warranty in place is something that's a comfort for us and it's a comfort for our clients. Now, the cost of your policy, and this is one of the things that I hit on real hard, is not paid by the buyer. The seller, the builder, is who pays for your policy. Can you give me an idea, and this is just for knowledge information for our customers, what is the average kind of ballpark of a price point of a policy with you all?
So I believe I have that number and it is accurate. But Brent Morgan, are you there, Brent? Can you answer that question?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I apologize, folks. I'm driving. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Hello? Okay. The average policy right now for a home under, let's say, $240,000 will be an average premium of $750 for 10 years. It's based on a rate per thousand, which is normally about $2.95 per thousand on any homes. If I'm doing my math correct, usually over 250,000. So anything up to that is going to be about $750, and you can budget that guaranteed.
So yeah, so to Brent's point, that's accurate. So it's $2.95 per $1,000 of the closing price of the home. So that's the industry standard on how it's priced. And the other pricing that comes into play is volume, 10-year relationship, and geography, right? So higher risk markets, the price is a little bit higher than markets where we, over 25 years, just don't have high risk, high claims.
Perfect. And then my last question is, if there ever is an issue with Centricity, if a customer is unhappy, if they feel like a representative with you all is not doing what they need to do, are you guys held accountable to a licensing or insurance entity?
So I'm sorry.
Yes. We have layers of reinsurance. Yeah. So you're talking about reinsurance, Leah?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So in the event, Lord forbid, the builder goes out of business, and Lord forbid, we go out of business. Lord forbid, our parent company goes out of business. We have not one, but 2 layers of reinsurance so that in the effect or in that event, it happens. Back in the day in 08 and 09, there was a huge company in Florida called Levitt & Sons. Well, they closed their doors in 72 hours and left us with 1,500 homes in their first year of warranty. So we were obligated to make those repairs on behalf of the builder, even though they were out of business. So if we all went out of business, we still have 2 other layers of protection to handle any claims up to that 10-year statute of repose in the state of Texas.
And to Brent's point, and that's good. It's unique for the industry. It's unique to have your parent company as your first layer of reinsurance. It just gives us more control that allows us to offer some additional products and services.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I think also sets you all apart too. So as we kind of get towards wrapping up here, if you have any questions, anyone who's live on here right now, there's a chat window. As always, you can go in there and ask your questions and we will answer them live. And will you just take a moment and kind of go over really if worst comes to worst and nothing can be resolved and we've got this property that has a major issue and you guys don't take care of it and the builder doesn't take care of it, and we get to a mediator or an arbitrator and nobody agrees with what the arbitrator has to say, what happens then? Is there any step above and beyond that, or is your agreement arbitrator done and final?
Once it gets past the arbitrator, and the arbitrator makes a decision on, let's say, for example, so then it stays denied. Okay. If the arbitrator overturns and says this needs to be repaired, then we'll step in and repair it. If it stays denied, now we're out of the conciliation process. And then at that point, the homeowner, the next step from that point could be litigation. But we do stay involved in that process because we know the warranty document, we know the industry very well. We're going to, because our customer is the builder, and we're going to stay involved and make sure we are partnered with the builder through that process. We have experts in our office that will go do depositions, and it typically never ends up going to court. Like I said, the 98.8% that never even goes to arbitration.
Yeah.
Very, very few times we ever, in the history of our company, get past that point.
And this is the benefit of having you all in place, is that you, in a way, you are kind of a mediator between the buyer and a builder, because you are stepping your policies over and above. You know, if the builder doesn't agree, I've had builders that have balked back at some items, and ultimately they do take care of it. But just knowing that you're there and that you're going to get involved is often enough of a deterrent.
If I may chime in real quick, one of the things is if we do get to a litigation, please understand that we, as a third-party company, will also be listed on that litigation as well, along with your general liability insurance, etc. So one of the things I wanted to add in on structural failures is, obviously the state of Texas does not require a GC license, nor does it require general liability insurance. So a structural failure lies full responsibility on the builder for 10 years in the state of Texas because of the 10-year statute of repose for construction defect litigation. So the builder is really on the hook for structural failures up to 10 years after closing. However, if they do carry general liability insurance, the warranty will deflect that claim against the general liability, where a general liability claim is reported to the state, where a warranty claim is not reported. So if a builder does carry general liability insurance, their premiums are going to go up with the lost runs because everything is databased in the state. So that's the other good benefit of it, as well as the builder needs to understand that they are liable for 10 years after closing for that home.
Yep. And this goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, that, you know, the contracts aren't really what in most of our forms outline the warranty protections. It's what we get in place as an addendum to that contract and what state law already has in place. But having to go after somebody in court under state law is never the preferred method, but it's always good to know that that option is there. And knock on wood, I have not had to use that, nor have any of my customers, but you know, it's important to know what you're working with and what's available to you, because, you know, you do as much volume as we do and you do it as long as we have, eventually there will be a claim. It's just, you know, fact of life. It's, people are human, things happen. You know, when you're a builder, you're counting on subs, and it's just one of those things. And so it's making sure that you dot your I's, you cross your T's, you have your ducks in a row, so that if and when you're the one it happens to, myself included, because we buy right along with everybody, that we have what we need in place. And so that's why we work with you guys, and it's been our profound pleasure. And I really do appreciate you guys coming on here and talking a little bit about what your policy is, because you know, so many clients, they get your policy and they sign for it, but I don't think they really understand what goes into what you offer, the claims resolution process, and structural failures, which at the end of the day, you know, a little AC here or there, not that big of a deal. But when you've got a foundation that's cracked, you know, the average price of foundation repair that we have done is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. And that's because we tend to catch it very early. That's because we're always at our properties. But where I see big problems are properties that are brought to us to take over, or where clients have been self-managing and then they bring it to us and no one's been walking through those homes. And so by the time we see it, the damage is really severe. And then you have water line involvement, gas line involvement. Sometimes you have roof line involvement, you have rafter involvement, and that's when it gets really bad. And just knowing that the protection is there, whether you're buying with us or somebody else or on your own, making sure that you have something in place to help kind of mitigate your potential loss is very important. And both of you guys, we're so glad to have you as part of the team and to be able to work with you all across so many properties.
Yep, thank you, Leah. It's a great partnership. You do a fantastic job, and we happy to be here today to provide this information on your behalf.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all again, and this will be posted to YouTube probably tomorrow. We're still dealing with some of the storm stuff from what happened a couple of days ago, but we'll get it up just as soon as we can. And all of their contact information for Brent is here if you have any follow-up questions, and his phone number is there as well for you. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. We've got some great classes coming up over the next 2 months, so keep checking on the Facebook page for that, and we'll keep blasting them out to you. And for any of you that are interested in finding out more, or you have any specific questions for me as it pertains to new construction and these warranties or anything else, you can always feel free to give me a call anytime. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all for your time and patience today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.